Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you remember, last week we made this prototype chair. I was very surprised on how comfortable it was. Since then, I've redrawn this up to look less CAD-like, less computery, where the back comes out, brought it down just a little bit, and then did a little dippy dip here, and then redesigned it to give it more of that Picciuto-like feel. This is going to kill some people, I know. We're gonna use this piece of walnut. Now, I'm not really into live edge furniture. Just never really liked that look. This piece of walnut right here, it was meant to be a chair. It was actually meant to be a chair. I can tell. I can just tell by looking at the grain. Here's another thing that's going to just kill you is I paid $15 for this. There was a retired farmer here that sold this to me for $15. I didn't even want this. I had to buy it at $15. I had no choice. I'm not real sure if it is completely dry on the inside. It's fairly light, so I have to assume. So we're gonna take a chance. And also the grain is a little funky and we have to do some resawing. So another big, huge chance that we're taking is I might cut the pieces out of this, and then because of the internal stresses, it could just potato chip. That is just a chance we are going to take today. Drive fast, take lots of chances. This leg is going to kind of follow the sapwood right there. And then this other leg can go right here. And then the seat part can go right here. The limitation on my planer is 16 inches wide. So if I first cut a straight edge right here, and then I can go 16 inches wide, making another straight edge here. And that way I can plane and flatten this all at one time. And since this is 2 and some whatever inches thick, I know that I can get 2 legs out of this because it will be eventually resawn. The plan 10 minutes ago was to take this whole thing and then plane down one side and then plane down the other side, so I have a nice flat piece to work with. But there is a little bit of, quite a lot of wobble, and even though we have a jig to flatten this, we'll lose quite a bit of material. So I think the better plan is to cut this into individual pieces for right now, and then if it does, like when I cut these into 3 pieces and it twists, I'll have a better chance of survival of getting that twist out in the final plane. I'm gonna cut this into 3 pieces and then flatten those 3 pieces individually. So this is my planer sled, and when you have boards that are wider than your joiner and they have some wobble to them, you can run this through the planer. It's got some sandpaper adhered to that, and I have these little wedges so I can take that wobble out, and I can run this through the... So then once I get one flat side, I can flip it over without the sled. It's a really simple sled for the planer. I do have a video on that sled, and it also serves a couple other purposes, so you might want to check out that video. I have my 3 pieces here. I was hoping that these could be 3/4 of an inch thick after resawing. It's going to be really close. It might be slightly under. We'll see. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't work. Everything's an experiment. So we have our 6 pieces cut. The reason I resawed them before drilling the holes is because this time I'm not going to drill the holes all the way through. They're going to be stopped. And I am going to use the CNC. Now I know many of you are already out of here. You're hitting the accelerator, you're peeling out the tires, and you're gone. If you don't want to watch the CNC stuff, go back to the previous video. I made this just with a jigsaw and a drill and a router. So this is for me. And for me, I want to make this on the CNC because this could be a repeatable thing that I want to do in the future. I might want to do a full dining set. So I'm going to cut this out on the CNC. It'll be nice and quick. Don't worry. To make this a little bit interesting, I am going to make this beat right here, right in front of you, as the background music for the CNC. There we go. That's going to be the skeleton of the chair. I did go and run this on the joiners to get a nice flat face because that's going to be joined right there with some dominoes. Same thing with this over here. We're going to use this domino joinery tool to cut the mortise for these floating tenons. And it's pretty easy. You just make your mark on there and then you So now that this leg is dry, I gotta clamp this one to there, but this is a little bit tricky because I can't just put a clamp here and here because the clamp will slide off. So I have this board clamped to my bench, this board clamped to my bench, this part of the seat clamped to the bench, and then I'm going to use my bench vise to put pressure on there and allow that glue to dry and strengthen up that joint. There we go, look at that. We're going to get back to the chair in a second. For a while now, I've been telling you how easy it is to make a website with Squarespace. Today, I'm actually going to show you. The first thing I need to do is pick a template. So I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to click Edit, Edit Site Header, and we're going to upload our logo. Looks a little small, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Change the transparency of the header here. I'm going to go to colors, and I'm going to change my color palette. This is a really cool thing. I can click on Edit, and I can choose a color palette from an image. So I'm just going to upload my logo and it's going to choose the colors right from there. And now you can see it automatically changed the color of these buttons. We're going to change this background photo. So we're going to delete the one that's there. We'll go with this one. We can choose how big we want this photo on here. I've already got all my copy written. This button, that is going to go to schedule, and then you've got some lorem ipsum text over here, and I'm going to paste it there. So now we got our header, we got this featured section. I know I don't want this section here, so I'm going to hit save, and then we're going to go to pages. We're going to enter a blank page. Race day format. Boom, already puts the link up here. We're going to add some content. You have all these great starting points right here. I don't need any of that. I already know exactly what I want. I want to add an image up here, and then we can change the formatting of some of this text. We can add some social media icons. Our logo clicks us back to the home page. That was pretty easy. We did that all in less than 10 minutes. I mean, I still got to go and add a schedule page. In the video description, I'll link to the finished version of this site. So thank you for sitting through that. When you're ready to make a website, go to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, visit squarespace.com/makesomething for 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to this chair. So this time, instead of using dowels, I'm using some PVC pipe because I think the white will look good in contrast with the walnut. I think it was like $3 for a 10-foot section of this, so I can get a lot of dowels out of this. I've gone ahead and rounded over all the edges over at the router and then sanded and added some finish. I thought it'd be easier to add finish now before assembly. And then after that, I glued in all the PVC pipe to one side. And so now it is time to put in the other side. I know it's gonna be a little bit tricky to get all 30 pipes to line up with the holes, so I sanded this cone shape on the end of each one to help it find its way into the hole. So the next thing I need to do is just pour in a little bit of epoxy into each one of these holes. Now, the tricky part. This could take a couple minutes here. You gotta find the one that's catching. I think putting a weight up here will help me a little bit. Oh, there we go. There we go. Also, doing one side at a time would make sure that epoxy doesn't leak out of here and drip down. So there it is. I am super happy with the way it came out. I love the look of it, and it's really comfortable. If you remember from the previous video, we made this one and I was kind of surprised on how comfortable it was, although it needed some improvements. I scooped out the seat right here and I brought the curve down just a little bit right here. It is way more comfortable than you might think. I also added more dowels per foot, I guess, to give it more of a solid surface. The white PVC against the dark walnut came out great. I love that. The one thing that I would change about this is I would take this top PVC pipe and move it up about an inch or so. That way there's a place to put your fingers in there to pick up and move the chair around. Otherwise, I'm not sure what else I would change. I am super, super happy with this. I didn't talk about this in the previous video, but I took the dimensions off of this old dining chair that we have in the house as far as the height and the back and the slope and everything, and used that for this. Made some improvements, and then really, really love how this came out. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. That website that I made in there, that is for the go-kart racing league that I race in. There will be a link to that website down below in the video description. That wraps it up. We'll see you next week with a brand new video. As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, make something. The song that you heard during that montage, that'll be out on my new album sometime in 2024.